All right, welcome back, everybody. Another video from Orbital over here. ROARK is back, and everybody, I'm gonna be quite frank with you. ROARK saw my little solo take on the Harden and Westbrook trades from last week, and ROARK, the floor is yours. Just you texted me. You said, "Dude, I cannot wait to be back next week," and you got a lot to say about what the Rockets are going through right now. So just let loose.
Yeah, I don't know who gave you the password to all our accounts and allowed you to just go haywire while I'm out of town for my dad's birthday. But somehow you've managed to take all of our whole Orbital reputation that we've built up for years and just do what you do best, which is just tarnish it. All the expectations, everything that we've been working towards building up the Rockets as a sport, as an organization, as the best NBA team. You got to come in here and blow it up like everyone else in the media right now, trying to come for the Rockets. Every hour is a new report about something happening. Now it's all the Harden and Russ buzz, trade buzz. But something's always going on. Started with Daryl Morey's fallout. Then all of a sudden, Mike D'Antoni's, wasn't going to be the coach. He said that back and right when the last season started. So ever since then, it just kind of put the Rockets into this weird kind of stance of turmoil.
It feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Like it feels like we started with this. All right, we're going to get a new head coach. We're going to trade Russell Westbrook, and now it's like, all right, no, total rebuild. Screw everything. We're trading everybody. I mean, Robert Covington's already been moved for Ariza and 2 first-round picks, which we'll obviously want to hear from you what your take on that is. I think it's a great move overall. But what did you think about the Rocco trade?
Yeah, I mean, two first-round picks. I'm not going to complain about that. I think they probably overpaid a little bit, in my opinion. However, I don't like the message that it sends from the Rockets as an organization. To me personally, makes us think, okay, we're going into a rebuilding state if we're going to give up a trade asset that we acquired last season to make a contending push, with Rocco, and now we're going to deal him just for basically 2 first-round picks. I know we get Ariza, but we're not expecting a huge help from Ariza. That was just a veteran presence to make the trade happen. So in essence, we traded away Rocco for 2 first-round picks. Sending this message that the Rockets are going to rebuild, that makes me think that the Rockets are going to try to move on from Westbrook and or Harden, which obviously I do not want to happen. As a big Rockets fan, I think, I'm more of the standpoint of run it back. We've lost to the championship winning team every single year, pretty much, since Harden's been on the team. Aside from, when the Rockets lost to the Warriors and the Warriors lost to the Cavs in that 3-1 lead. Other than that, you think about the Rockets have been taken out by the NBA champs every single year. So, when it comes down to it, that's how we got knocked out by the Warriors dynasty, and now, Lakers, that's who we lost to last season. And all of a sudden, we want to blow it up now when we're right there. So I really don't think that we should be trying to trade away and completely rebuild. Steven Silas is a new coach. He can easily, just give the ball to Harden and Westbrook. We have a good game plan. It's not like now that we don't have D'Antoni or Daryl Morey, we have to, totally just hit the restart button. Where are you coming from? Where do you think the Rockets' standpoint is going forward right now with this trade season and off season opening up now?
Well, I think you bring up a really good point when you talk about success with the Houston Rockets organization, because you're right. It's not like they haven't made the playoffs. It's not like they haven't been competitive. It's not like they haven't won 50-plus games every season. Like you mentioned, like they either get knocked out by the Warriors and the Warriors either win the championship or they get beat by the Cavs or the Raptors that one year. And then also, obviously, this past year with the Lakers going on to win the championship, and you always want to lose to the guy who at least wins the NBA championship and say, all right, well, no one else beat him either. So it's not, it's not as big of a deal if you don't beat him. On the other hand, I just don't think, even though Harden, I would just say, is a top 5 player without a doubt, I don't think he's a player that you win an NBA championship with necessarily. And I did some very rough research here, but personally, and my philosophy on basketball, I like guys that can do a lot of stuff on both ends of the floor. I like guys that can do both offense and defense and a level of versatility to both. So, and you look at players who have won. You look at teams that have won NBA championships, right? Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Draymond Green, to a way lesser extent to those 2 guys, but all 3 of those people are key assets to the past 3 versions of NBA championships. Kevin Durant would fall under that category as well because he was such a huge defensive piece of the Warriors teams those years. But having people that can take over on offensive and a defensive side of the basketball, I think is something that is essential to winning any sort of NBA championship. And I don't think the Rockets have that right now. Can they pair that with James Harden? And have you and I talked privately about how if the Clippers switched, Westbrook for Paul George, are the Rockets in a better place tomorrow than they are today? Absolutely. And, if they retool properly, and honestly, the Rockets have no draft picks, so they have no future in terms of bringing in young talent. And with a coach that is probably going to run a more team-oriented style of basketball, I want young players that are going to get a bigger opportunity to develop and really contribute to a team. I think that makes the Rockets a more strength in numbers, idea-oriented team. So I, as currently constructed, I don't think Westbrook and Harden are going to be what brings the Rockets an NBA championship at the end of the day. I think we've tried it a couple years, right? Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, I mentioned this last week a little bit, Ty Lawson, Jeremy Lin, right? We've always tried to have 2 really good guards, but I don't think that's what complements Harden the best. Now, I should rephrase what I said earlier. You can win an NBA championship with James Harden, but I don't think the second domino to that equation is another guard. I think it's a forward that can be a superstar on the offensive and the defensive end, because historically that's helped a lot of NBA championship teams win an NBA championship. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I see your standpoint. I can actually agree from what you're saying. I do think that if we're looking at the landscape of the Rockets right now in this offseason, that you said that Paul George trade would be the most appealing to me if we were dealing Westbrook. From what I've seen remarks about John Wall, but honestly, I don't know why we would swap Westbrook for Wall. Like, Westbrook is just like a healthier version, if not better than Wall. So I think that, the Rockets are coming from the standpoint where I think they're going to deal Harden or Westbrook. They may deal both depending on what packages they can get. But if they're dealing one of them, obviously we're going to, the Rockets would prefer to keep Harden. If we could get a better wing piece rather than that other point guard that our organization has tried to pair with Harden for past years, like you said, I think a better wing player would be more suited to play with Harden. I don't know where the Rockets are at though with that. I think that, if I'm the Rockets, I would Harden and Westbrook have made it clear that they don't want to run it back with each other next year, even though I think they're like really good friends. I think they really do. Harden posted a story that all this trade rumor stuff was just pretty much like fake and wasn't true. So I think that there is a chance neither of them get dealt and they come around, but I see Westbrook as being the first person to get traded. How do you think it's going to play out? Do you think one of them?
I think absolutely one of them has to go. And if you do end up moving Harden, I mean, the haul of draft picks and players that you're going to get from that, I mean, considering the Bucks just got, Drew Holiday, and they had to trade away 3 first-round picks for the guy. I mean, Drew Holiday's, he's a one-time All-Star. I mean,
and Bledsoe, too. Like, you get a good playmaker back.
Absolutely. And they depleted their point guard, rotation by getting rid of George Hill, too. And that's, George Hill does not get enough love.
Yeah, I know you love George Hill.
I do love George Hill. In 2K, that dude is absolutely money, and maybe that affects my real life opinion of him. But
he's a great player. Led the league in 3-point shooting. He led the league in 3-point shooting. He's a good player.
I love solid point guards, and that is exactly what George Hill personifies.
So yeah, George Hill and Bledsoe can coach up Lonzo.
Troy Dan, the guy that we both love watching, was so sad that Bledsoe and George Hill was coming because they were obviously going to cut into Lonzo's playing time a little bit. Yeah. But the haul that you would get for James Harden it's almost unthinkable, right? And a lot of people have thrown out trades. Obviously the Nets are the main destination here, but throwing in Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, LeVert's the other guy. Throwing those 3 guys in, and I would even say if you throw in 3 first-round picks, it's I don't know if that's necessarily enough. Dinwiddie's awesome. He is amazing. LeVert is very solid. Jared Allen would solve the Rockets, short problems. And so, and getting like 4 or 5, maybe like 4 first-round picks and like 2 pick swaps, maybe, right? I think that's, I might be overpaying a little bit there, but Harden's an MVP candidate. So to pair him with Kyrie, KD, that's their future right there. So to get the entire Nets future would be, pretty reasonable.
Well, yeah, the Nets said, they've already pretty much offered the house for him. Yeah, like you've said, all the picks, they've got all the pick swaps plus LeVert and Dinwiddie. But the Rockets, I don't think are interested in that, nor I don't think they should be. As they've stated, if the Nets want to deal with them, they need Kyrie or KD back, and I think that would approve. I don't even want Kyrie back. I'd want only KD. So my official point of view is that the Rockets should not deal Westbrook or Harden unless they're dealing Westbrook for a good wing piece like Paul George type player.
What did you think? Sorry to cut you off. What did you think about the Blake Griffin trade, where it's Westbrook and a second-round pick for Blake Griffin? What did you think about that?
Honestly, I think that they should give us picks in Blake Griffin if they want Westbrook. I think Westbrook is I don't know the exact ages, but I believe he's younger than Blake Griffin, barely probably. His body's healthier from my personal standpoint. Blake Griffin's been banged up the last couple of years. I like, in theory, right, getting a forward like Blake Griffin would be solid. We've talked about, I think the perfect free agent pickup would be Serge Ibaka. You and I both agree on that. You take Serge Ibaka, you can keep Westbrook and Harden. Like, I don't want to go off on a whole nother rant on the Rockets offense and why I think that Westbrook and Harden can play together, because it's not like, you need people to take turns. You can't have Harden taking every single possession. Like, you need time where, one of them's always on the floor and the other one's commanding the offense. Like, I think that's a really suitable and it works well. And, it almost won us a championship with Chris Paul. So I think that the Rockets can keep playing their same ball. But if they're giving up Westbrook for Blake Griffin, I think they would have to give up, I think we should be getting picks, not giving up picks for that downgrade, in my opinion. But yeah, go on.
I believe they're the same age because Westbrook stayed in college a second year and Blake went after his he was a one and done, but I know Blake was the draft after Westbrook, I believe. So I believe they're the same age. Both technically have a pretty lengthy injury history, and both are on massive contracts. So it's cap space wise, it doesn't really help the Rockets at all. But I would also assume that Westbrook should be the higher valued asset in that. Now, I also talked about a trade last week where you use Westbrook to diversify your assets. And so the Clippers trade where you get Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, Ronnie Magruder, and Ivaka Zubac and some other guy. Maybe you turn that other guy into like a first-round pick or something. Getting that in return for Westbrook was the most appealing thing to me because it gets a number of guys that can contribute meaningful basketball possessions, and you don't have to worry about them making mistakes, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know who's contributing any meaningful basketball possessions in that. I think.
What about Lou Williams?
Lou Williams, bro, like he's an old veteran, man. Like, yeah, sure, he can give us 18 points a game and play terrible defense. Sick. That's really gonna help the Rockets out. Like Beverly, yeah, appreciate the defense, but like, no, I'd rather have the 38-8 that Westbrook was giving us when he was healthy. No, yeah, I don't think that's a good trade at all for the Rockets. I think you prefer the star talent. If we are having to downgrade, I like the idea, like you said, diversifying, just getting as many assets as possible. I think those assets are a little aged though. For the Rockets, we're trying to really rebuild. I'd prefer more of a young core. I would prefer the Nets package that we talked about, or that. And over both of them, I would prefer, something from the Celtics. If we could get Jaylen Brown, I think he's, has the potential to have a way better career trajectory than any player we've already talked about, right? I think, especially on the Clippers, Lou will obviously is already peaked. Beverly, debatably, I think he's past his prime, or like he's coming out. He's somewhere in there, whatever. Like, we've seen all we're going to see from Beverly. Like, I'd rather, if we're going to downgrade from Harden or Westbrook, I want a player that's either fully developed, like, at an all-star level already, which I don't think we're going to get. I don't think we're going to get the Paul George-esque, or a young player that has the potential to be that kind of all-star caliber player, i.e. Jaylen Brown, So I don't think that we should, like even Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert are really good players, but I just don't know what the ceiling is for them. I think LeVert probably is higher, but they're 26, 27, still young, but like it's just not as appealing. Like if you're going to give away Harden or Westbrook, like you have to give the potential hope for the franchise. And that's not just 3 first-round picks, right? Like that, there also needs to be either an all-star caliber player or a player who's on the way to that all-star caliber talent. So I just don't want the Rockets to get drowned in all this trade talk and feel like their backs up against the wall. What's the best offer they can get for Harden? Okay, we guess we have to trade him. Like, no, you got 2 years on his deal. You can keep him. Like, don't get, frisky now that all this trade talks are stirring up, and just take whatever the best offer is right now on the table. Like, Harden's not going anywhere. His talent's not going anywhere. Just like press the brakes, let it kind of blow over. And then like, if you can get a really good offer and Harden, like, if Harden behind the scenes is like, hey, I don't want to fucking play for Houston, like you better trade me, then like, okay, yeah, see what the best deal you can get is before the season starts, right? But I would not be in a rush to trade him, especially with the trade talks that we're hearing right now. I don't think any of them compare to the potential, MVP, finals MVP, championship winning James Harden that I really think the Rockets, would have had with Chris Paul. So like, I really don't want the Rockets to try to get caught in this position of feeling like they have to downgrade or change the trajectory of their franchise.
Thank you for watching. If you like this snippet of our podcast, make sure you like the video and leave a comment of your thoughts on the topic we talked about, and make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you want to watch the podcast in its entirety, you can find us on Spotify, which is linked in the description below, with our Instagram and Twitter, which you could also follow. All you have to do is click the links below. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.